He's been close a few times already this year, but finally, Kyle Larson breaks through and gets his first win of the season after some of his steepest competition just can't get out of their own way on pit road. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove Richmond Race Review Edition. I hope your weekend is going well. Lots to talk about today. Great racing out there. Can I just say that first and foremost? NASCAR introduced a 30% lower downforce rules package for most of the short ovals and road courses this season. Richmond today was the third race where this package has been used, and to me, it was the first race where there was a clear difference between what we saw today and what we saw on track last season. Sure, there was still tire fall off, tire strategy just like last year, but a lot more slipping and sliding in my opinion. Comers and goers, three wide racing. At times it felt like every time I looked up at my TV, someone was meeting a sandwich. Fantastic racing today. These are the kinds of races that remind me why there was a grassroots effort to add more short tracks to the schedule a few years ago. This was probably the best overall racing the next gen car has put on at a short track thus far. Goodyear deserves credit for the tire combination they continue to bring to this racetrack, but I do want to give NASCAR some credit for not sitting on their hands, not being content with good enough. No, they went to work this offseason. They worked with the drivers. They found a newer, lower downforce rules package that pretty much every driver endorsed. They put it on track, and already early this season, I think we're seeing a clear difference. I was wildly entertained by the racing today, but let's talk about some of the top finishers. Actually, let's begin with the winner. We always start with the winner. You'd think this is my first time doing one of these videos, the amount of times I forget that. But Kyle Larson, after a few near misses to begin the season, I think back to the Daytona 500, y'all. Not typically known as a great super speedway racer, can hardly find any luck at those tracks usually, but he was in contention on the final lap until he got hooked and wrecked. Then Las Vegas Motor Speedway lost the lead to his teammate William Byron on the final cycle of pit stops. Phoenix, the very next week, kind of the opposite happened. Larson got the lead on pit road during the final cycle of pit stops, but then lost to William Byron once again on a restart. Some near misses, some close calls, but today Kyle Larson finally broke through, and once again William Byron was one of his toughest competitors. Kyle Larson's pit crew came in clutch today, getting him out front ahead of Byron, ahead of Josh Berry, ahead of the field. Christopher Bell helped out by wrecking William Byron on the second to last restart. Analyzing that restart for a moment, Ross Chastain, fair move, gets a great run, goes to the inside. We see that at Richmond time and time again. Aggressive but clean in my opinion. Christopher Bell just overreacted. Oh, someone's down there? Turned a little too far to the right and clipped William Byron. An unfortunate move there that took one of the best cars, best drivers out of this race. Just a bad accident by Christopher Bell, but luckily that was the only restart wreck late in this race. It didn't devolve into chaos. My favorite word. Okay, moving on, back to Kyle Larson, first win of the season. First win for Kevin Meendering as a crew chief, filling in for Cliff Daniels this week, and I think next week is his last fill-in race, the last race of Cliff Daniels and the rest of the Hendrick crew chief's suspensions. Larson was competitive pretty much all day. There was contact on pit road between him and Daniel Suarez early on that might have messed with the handle on Larson's car, but Larson still collected the third most amount of stage points. He gets the win. He was fast when it mattered most. Pretty cool to see Kyle Larson win in that Ricky Hendrick inspired scheme on what would have been Ricky Hendrick's 43rd birthday. You heard Mike Joy on the broadcast getting emotional post-race. This has been a big week for Hendrick Motorsports, both on and off the racetrack. Of course, they finished 1-2 today with Josh Berry. We'll get to him in a moment. The fact that this is both a special and, sadly, sort of a tragic day. Getting those penalties reduced earlier in the week, 100 points given back to each Hendrick Motorsports team. A huge week, a very important, a very impactful week for Hendrick Motorsports. Congratulations to Kyle Larson. I want to touch on some of the other Hendrick cars real quick. Josh Berry finishes second, filling in for Chase Elliott. Interim crew chief Tom Gray made a bold strategy call to leave Berry out long, try to run that final green flag run as long as he could, maybe all the way to the finish. They might have tried to stretch it that far if they had to. Caution comes out for Tyler Reddick spinning, and suddenly Josh Berry's in the top 5 with a fresh set of tires still waiting in the pits. Great stop by the championship caliber number 9 team, gets him out on the front row, and Josh Berry holds his position, finishes second. Great job. I mentioned William Byron getting crashed. That's a very disappointing end to what was a fantastic day otherwise. He won stage 1, I think he was 3rd in stage 2, so he collected more stage points than anyone else. Clint Boyer during the broadcast predicted that Byron's going to win 6 to 8 races this year. That might be a little high, considering no driver won more than 5 races last year, but If anyone can this year, I think it is William Byron. Hendrick Motorsports is clearly the fastest team in the garage. William Byron and Rudy Fugle, I think this is year 3 together, and I'm not counting the years they dominated trucks way back when. Byron is in year 6, 22, 23, year 6. He may not be near his prime yet, but I think it's safe to say he's settled in. I don't know if I'm ready to predict 6, 7, 8 wins for William Byron this year, but 4 or 5, I think that's the bar, considering how they've fired off this season. And I don't want to forget about Alex Bowman. Once again, he was there, top 5, top 10 all day long, but he never had the speed to contend with Kyle Larson or William Byron. He just didn't. He never had the speed to contend with Denny Hamlin or Martin Truex Jr., or really even Christopher Bell, but he was there, he was consistent, mistake-free. Your points leader had yet another good day, another solid top 10. Big day for Hendrick Motorsports. Now let's move on. One driver you won't see among today's top finishers is Denny Hamlin. Today was not Denny's finest moment. Stage 1, speeds on pit road. What else is new? It's the Denny Hamlin special. Then, trying to make up for lost time, just drove through the back of J.J. Yaley, wrecked him. Clearly on purpose, Denny Hamlin was upset that Yaley squeezed him a little the straightaway before and decided he was going to retaliate, play some bumper tag. Hamlin on his podcast this past week went out of his way to call out and criticize drivers for disrespectful racing, over-aggressive moves, only to do that early in the race today after Denny Hamlin made a mistake on pit road. I don't get it. I understand being mad that you got squeezed in traffic racing for 30th, but that does not justify cleaning the guy out, in my opinion. After that, Hamlin worked his way all the way up to the front. He was driving angry, had a fast race car, especially on the long run. Pit crew played a nice strategy. But then late in the race, pit crew made a mistake. Had some issues tightening the right front lug nut, lost a ton of positions during a green flag pit cycle. Hamlin worked his way back inside the top 10, only to speed on pit road yet again, the second time today. So not Denny Hamlin's finest moment. Had a car capable of winning, and whether it was the driver, whether it was the team, they threw it away numerous times today. Just a bad deal all around. While I'm being pessimistic, I guess I should call out others who made mistakes. Whether it's my Twitter mentions, my YouTube comments, Ryan Blaney fans are constantly letting me know that their driver's pit crew is constantly letting him down. So I've watched this year. And yes, there have been a couple of bad moments where that team has cost him spots, cost him chances at great finishes, and today was one of those. I'm not sure Blaney had a top 5 car or one capable of winning, but team left the wedge adjuster in the rear window. Valiant effort to try and get that thing out. Hope everyone was okay over there, but that was a costly penalty. I think that happened during green flag stop, so Blaney actually had to serve a pass-through if I'm not mistaken. Blaney finishes 26th. Bubba Wallace finishes 22nd with the GOAT, Michael Jordan, watching from atop their pit box after a pit crew member fell over the wall without a helmet trying to retrieve a loose wheel, or an uncontrolled tire, I should say. Why is Michael Jordan, if he's there, why is he not the one catching tires? Dude's 6'6", something like that, 6'5". He's probably got long arms. He should be the one reaching over to try and catch these loose wheels. I'm just kidding. A bad mistake, though, cost Bubba Wallace what was otherwise probably going to be a top 10, top 15 day. The other 2311 car, Tyler Reddick, was a disaster. He fell off the lead lap, I think in stage 3, was running outside the top 20, and then spun out with 30 to go. Shocking, honestly. I know 2311's not Joe Gibbs Racing, but Toyota has been so fast, so consistent at Richmond the past, I don't know, forever it feels like. For Tyler Reddick, the guy who's finished top 5 3 weeks in a row, won last weekend at COTA, for him to be this off today, I was a bit surprised, honestly. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I just feel bad for the driver in this case. He had a good starting spot via qualifying and practice being rained out. Was running top 5 during the first 30-lap stint, only for what? I think an oil line to break? Or no, what was it? Was it an issue with his brakes? I don't remember what the issue was, but 30 laps in, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was behind the wall, was in the garage. That stinks, considering it looked like they maybe had something, maybe a top 10, top 15 going, and that would have been cool for that team. So that stinks. Last team I want to criticize is Legacy Motor Club. Man, I had high hopes for this team. I know Noah Gregson's a rookie, so I'll cut him some slack, but Eric Jones. Last year, Eric Jones was looking like a fringe playoff contender by the end of the year. He won the Southern 500, for goodness sake. This year, that 43 team, the 42 team, the 84s had no luck the races it's run. Legacy Motor Club looks like a disaster. I don't know what their issue was today. I looked up at one point, though, midway through this race, and both Eric Jones and Noah Gregson were 2 laps down outside the top 30. That is unacceptable. Rebrand in the offseason, you bring in Jimmy Johnson, some of his people. I figured the only way this team could go was up. They have gone down to start this year. Down pretty considerably, quite honestly. Eric Jones has 1 top 10 this year. Noah Gragson has 0. And as we segue to talking about some of these top finishers, his Rookie of the Year competitor, Ty Gibbs, is now on a 3-race top 10 streak. I didn't expect Gragson to beat Ty Gibbs. I don't expect Legacy Motor Club to contend with Joe Gibbs Racing, but I was hoping Legacy would look better than they do right now. That's all. I forgot to mention that Gragson wrecked leading this race too, so they even went home with a destroyed car. I don't know if he blew a tire or what, but gosh. Rough day, rough month for Legacy. Let me get a little more positive here. Front Row Motorsports, Todd Gilliland sneaks into the top 15. Michael McDowell finishes 6th. Now, they got a break with that Tyler Reddick caution. They were running long, hoping to catch a caution, and catch a caution they did. But at least in the case of Michael McDowell, he held that track position. Kudos. Really awesome run for both McDowell. Great finish for Todd Gilliland. I want to give Chandler Smith some credit. He's just off this list. He finished 17th. First official Cup Series start. Won his first Xfinity race yesterday. A solid 17th in his Cup debut today. Good weekend for Chandler Smith. I also want to give an attaboy to Stewart Haas Racing. All 4 of their cars finished inside the top 20. 3 of them finished inside the top 15. I know, for a team that's supposed to be one of the super teams, that's not a very flashy statistic, but considering the inconsistency, let's just say lack of speed SHR has shown more times than not the past 2 years, getting Chase Briscoe, Eric Almirola inside the top 15, and they both ran inside the top 10 late at some point or another. Getting Ryan Preece a solid top 20, that's something. That's building towards something better. That's what SHR needs right now. They're not going to revert back to their 2018 selves where they're winning a ton of races and making up half of the round of 8 spots. They're not going to do that overnight. It's going to take some time at this point. They got a lot of young guys over there. Briscoe, Preece, finally in a competitive car for the first time in his Cup career. It's going to take some time. Today, though, was a step in the right direction, so I want to give SHR some credit. Another top 10 for Brad Keselowski, man. Had a rough outing at COTA last weekend. Great to see them bounce back, continue to have good speed. Kyle Busch in 14th, I was expecting better. He started like 2nd thanks to qualifying, again being rained out. Immediately fell backwards, but still managed to get a top 15, so something out of nothing. Chastain ends up 3rd, once again aggressive on those final restarts. That's his specialty. It worked out. Gets a solid top 5. Joey Logano, top 10. Felt like he never was really a factor today, so the fact that he ends up with the top 10, I think he'll be happy with that result, all things considered. Oh, Truex. I can't forget about Martin Truex Jr. You know, I talked about Denny Hamlin. Joe Gibbs Racing was fast. I think the JGR cars on the long run were the best in the field. Hamlin lost this race on pit road. Truex lost this race, I don't know, I guess you could argue bad strategy, unlucky cautions coming out when they did. When the final caution came out, or the final cycle of pit stops happened, Truex was like the only one of the leaders who did not have a clean, fresh set of sticker Goodyear tires waiting for him in the pits. He had to put on like 6-lap scuffs, so naturally he wasn't going to fire off as well as those around him. So while I think he had maybe the best long run car in the field today, this race ended on short runs and Truex was at a slight tire disadvantage. And at Richmond, that makes a huge difference. So hate to see Truex come home 11th. He deserved at least a top 5, but that's Richmond. Tire strategy, saving your stuff. Sometimes the yellows fall your way, sometimes they don't. Still, great speed out of Truex. I like what I've seen from that 19 team so far this year. They won the Clash, and they've had speed a few races since then. I like what I'm seeing. They're looking like they're going to have a small bounce back year after missing the playoffs a season ago. But those are your top finishers. I don't have much else to say. Looked like a good crowd, looked like good weather out at Richmond Raceway today, and you already heard what I said about the racing. It was great. Some of the best Richmond racing I can remember seeing. Let's put this race on the groovy gauge. Richmond's earned an unfortunate reputation in recent years. Used to be called the action track, and in recent years it's been anything but, more times than not. But today, again, I don't know if it's all the new rules package. I don't know if the 30% less downforce really made that huge a difference. Maybe it's a combination of the weather, the tire compound. We saw tire fall off and tire wear in the 2 races here last year, so that is consistent. But today we saw guys running like the 3rd or 4th lane, which I don't remember the last time teams were consistently using that lane at Richmond. The bottom, the middle, the outside worked. Drivers were 2 and 3 wide consistently. Lots of little contact here and there, able to save it. Sliding up off turn 4. I love that view of Richmond. This was one of the best Richmond races I can remember seeing in recent memory. And it had a little bit of everything. Lots of comers and goers. Early in this race, it looked like the Byron and Larson show once again. But by the midway point, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., the JGR brigade was marching to the front. Pit strategy ultimately affected Martin Truex's day, helped Josh Berry net a top 5. There's a few spins, some drama between Bell and Byron. We'll see if that comes back to bite Christopher Bell at any point in the not so distant future. But again, this race did not devolve into a clown show. Pit road came into play, drivers shot themselves in the foot, lots of storylines today. I thought it was a wildly entertaining race. I'm going 90% on the groovy gauge. I wonder, someone's got to go back and look. I'm too lazy to do this myself, but if I look back at every other Richmond race I've reviewed, have I ever given a Richmond race a 90%? I'd be surprised. But 90% for me. What's not to like? I thought this was a fantastic race. Let me know what kind of score you would give today's Toyota Owners 400, and let me know how your favorite driver did. Do you think my analysis of your favorite driver's day was fair? Is there anything I missed that you think I should have mentioned? Leave a comment down below. But I think that's gonna do it. Yeah, another race recap episode in the books. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave this video a like. It helps me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel and you love NASCAR, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future content. And a thank you to my Patreon supporters, as always, for your very generous support. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will see you again very soon. Might have to talk about yesterday's Truck and Xfinity Series races with a couple of first-time winners. Lots to discuss this week heading into Bristol Dirt. I will see you then. Thanks for watching, y'all.